Hello, America, and welcome to Ranting Politics Headline Updates. I'm JOC, and we've got an absolutely packed show today covering the historic events of President Trump's inauguration. We'll dive into Trump's powerful inaugural address from the Capitol Rotunda, where he declared America's decline is over and outlined his vision for the nation's future. Plus, we've got the details on the immediate and sweeping changes at the southern border, including the shutdown of Biden's CBP-1 app that left thousands of migrants in tears. We'll also break down Trump's controversial mass pardons for January 6th defendants, a move he made just hours after taking office. And speaking of pardons, we'll examine former President Biden's last-minute clemency spree, including passes for Dr. Fauci and General Milley. Stay tuned as we wrap up with some fascinating Washington whispers about a Democratic senator who might be switching parties. Let's jump right in. In a striking departure from tradition, President Trump delivered his inaugural address from inside the Capitol Rotunda, forced indoors by an Arctic blast that hit Washington, D.C. This marked the first time in 4 decades that inaugural ceremonies moved inside, but that didn't diminish the weight of Trump's message. Trump struck an optimistic yet forceful tone, declaring that a tide of change is sweeping the country and heralding what he called a new era of national success. With former President Biden and Kamala Harris seated behind him, Trump didn't mince words about the state of the nation he's inheriting. In recent years, our nation has suffered greatly, Trump told the assembled crowd, but we are going to bring it back and make it great again, greater than ever before. We will be a nation like no other, full of compassion, courage, and exceptionalism. The president took a moment to reflect on his journey back to the White House, including the assassination attempt that nearly claimed his life in Pennsylvania last July. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life, Trump remarked. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. Trump laid out several immediate priorities, promising more than 200 executive actions on his first day. He vowed to reclaim American sovereignty, restore safety, and end what he called the unfair weaponization of the Justice Department. One of his boldest declarations came when he announced it would now be official U.S. policy to recognize only 2 genders, male and female, drawing some of the loudest applause of the ceremony. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation, Trump proclaimed. We will stand bravely. We will live proudly. We will dream boldly, and nothing will stand in our way, because we are Americans. Their future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. The sweeping border changes promised by President Trump began immediately after he took the oath of office, with the administration's first move striking at the heart of the previous administration's immigration policy. At precisely noon, as Trump was being sworn in, the CBP-1 app, which had been used by nearly 1 million migrants to enter the country under Biden, went dark. The impact was immediate and dramatic. Across the Mexican border, migrants who had been waiting for their scheduled appointments watched their chances vanish in an instant. In Juarez, scene of particular heartbreak unfolded as one woman, whose appointment was scheduled just an hour after the shutdown, collapsed to her knees in tears. Trump wasted no time declaring the border situation a national emergency, announcing plans to deploy military troops and implementing a series of aggressive policy changes. Among the most significant is the revival of the Remain in Mexico policy and the termination of humanitarian parole programs that had given special consideration to migrants from Haiti, Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. The administration is also taking aim at transnational gangs, with Trump announcing plans to use the centuries-old Alien Enemies Act to combat organizations like Tren de Aragua and MS-13. These groups will now be designated as terrorist organizations, marking a significant escalation in enforcement tactics. On the ground, Border Patrol agents in San Diego report that challenges remain. "They're still coming in," one agent commented, noting the ongoing presence of gaps in the border wall. The National Border Patrol Council estimates around 1,000 people are still being apprehended daily trying to cross illegally. The situation remains particularly tense for the estimated 270,000 migrants currently waiting on the Mexican side of the border. Many had been hoping to utilize the now-defunct CBP One app, which had been processing over 43,000 people monthly. Instead, they now face a dramatically different landscape under an administration promising what it calls a complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. In a dramatic late-night move from the White House, President Trump has issued approximately 2,500 pardons to January 6 defendants, fulfilling one of his key campaign promises just hours after taking the oath of office. The president signed the pardons following the day's inaugural festivities, directing the Federal Bureau of Prisons to immediately release the affected inmates. Trump defended his decision, pointing to what he called disproportionate sentences and unfair treatment of the defendants. He emphasized that many have already served significant time, comparing their sentences to what he described as more lenient treatment for other serious crimes. The president specifically highlighted the contrast between the prosecution of January 6th participants and the handling of cases stemming from the 2020 civil unrest in cities like Seattle and Portland. Of the more than 1,500 people charged in connection with January 6th, about 562 had received federal prison sentences. The pardons cover a broad spectrum of cases, from those charged with simple trespassing to more serious offenses. The president declined to specify whether individuals charged with assaulting police officers were included, though he suggested that some aggressive actions may have been the work of outside agitators. In addition to the pardons, Trump issued 6 commutations, suggesting that some cases might be reviewed for potential full pardons in the future. The sweeping clemency action represents one of the largest mass pardons in recent memory, effectively nullifying much of the Justice Department's January 6 prosecution efforts. The move has sparked intense reactions across the political spectrum, with supporters praising it as a necessary correction of judicial overreach, while critics argue it undermines accountability for the events of that day. For the hundreds of defendants and their families, however, the pardons represent an immediate and dramatic change in their circumstances, marking yet another significant shift as the new administration takes control. As Biden's presidency drew to a close, he issued a series of controversial 11th-hour pardons that sparked immediate backlash from both sides of the aisle. Just hours before leaving office, the former president granted preemptive pardons to Dr. Anthony Fauci, retired General Mark Milley, and unnamed staff members of the January 6th Select Committee. What's particularly striking about these pardons is that they came after numerous high-profile Democrats, including former President Bill Clinton and Senator Amy Klobuchar, explicitly warned against such preemptive actions. Senator Dick Durbin had pointedly questioned where such pardons would start and stop, while Biden himself had previously criticized the concept of preemptive pardons during the transition from the Trump administration. Perhaps most controversial was Biden's decision, made just 22 minutes before his term ended, to pardon multiple family members, including his brother James, sister Valerie Biden Owens, and brothers-in-law John Owens and Francis Biden. This followed his earlier pardon of his son Hunter, who had been convicted in 2 separate federal cases. Dr. Fauci, responding to his pardon, maintained he had committed no crime, telling ABC News there were no possible grounds for any criminal investigation. Meanwhile, General Milley's pardon came after his pre-election characterization of Trump as a fascist, though he later appeared to soften his stance following Trump's victory. These final acts of clemency drew sharp criticism from political leaders, with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis particularly vocal about Fauci's pardon, calling it an example of the swamp protecting its own. Biden defended the pardons in a statement, claiming his family had faced unrelenting politically motivated attacks, while insisting the pardons should not be viewed as acknowledgments of wrongdoing by any of the recipients. And in a developing story that's causing quite a stir in Washington, rumors are swirling about a potential party switch by a key Democratic senator. Former New Jersey Assemblyman Jamel Hawley dropped this bombshell on social media, claiming a trusted source indicated a Democratic senator would be changing their party affiliation to Republican within the next week. Social media immediately lit up with speculation, with most attention focusing on Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman. The senator, however, was quick to shut down these rumors, telling Semaphore it was, quote, amateur hour stuff, and emphatically stating it's not going to happen. Fetterman specifically pushed back against comparisons to previous party switches by Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Despite Fetterman's firm denial, the rumor mill continues to churn, with political observers noting his recent breaks from Democratic Party positions on several key issues, including immigration and support for Israel. If such a switch were to materialize, it would have significant implications for the Senate's balance of power, potentially strengthening the Republican majority. At this point, while social media continues to buzz with theories about other possible candidates, no concrete evidence has emerged to support the rumor, and no other Democratic senators have publicly addressed the speculation. And that wraps up today's packed episode of Ranting Politics Headline Updates. From Trump's historic indoor inauguration to sweeping border policy changes, mass January 6th pardons, Biden's controversial final hour clemency decisions, and the swirling rumors of a potential Senate party switch, it's been a monumental day in American politics. Stay up to date with all our latest coverage by following us on X at RantingRP. For deeper dives into these stories and exclusive content, head over to rantingpolitics.com. And don't forget, you can also now find us on YouTube and Amazon's Audible app. This is JOC signing off, and thank you, our loyal listeners, for choosing Ranting Politics Headline Updates. We'll be back soon with the updates you need to navigate these interesting times. Until then, stay tuned, stay informed, and as always, stay free.
Hey, you brilliant inventors and creators. Have you crafted a product that's ready to break out from the digital world and hit the physical shelves? Imagine your creation sitting proudly in stores like Walmart, Target, and Home Depot, where 90% of purchases still happen. Well, it's time to turn that vision into reality with Product Fury. At Product Fury, we specialize in bridging the gap between online innovation and retail giants. In fact, we have secured millions of dollars of royalty deals for dozens of products at big box retail stores. Whether you're selling gadgets, home goods, or anything innovative, we're here to amplify your reach. Don't keep your product confined to the web. Visit www.productfury.ai today to submit your information for a free product evaluation. Let's get your products out of the internet cloud and into customer carts. Remember, that's productfury.ai. Make the leap from clicks to bricks and see your product thrive in the bustling aisles of major retailers. It's your time to shine on the big stage. Visit us now